Hello and welcome to episode 20 of our Timberborn 1.0 no longer experimental but full release playthrough with the Ant Farm map and the Iron Teeth faction. Let's hit pause real quick because I see a problem, and that is that we got a lot of thirsty beavers. And of course it's day one, which means we do have to get water pumping again, but the pumps have been turned on before we started recording this episode at the very end of the last one. And that problem is going to resolve itself in due time. Let's just make sure that everything is looking good, and it will take a little bit of time for the beavers to, become not thirsty and continue working at the correct pace. So we're just going to have to, let it be. But last episode, and a lot has happened since the last episode outside of this playthrough with the release of 1.0. But last episode, we got food stuff kind of set up here, but obviously it's not connected to power. We do, however, have storage for every type of food that we can produce and one that we cannot yet. We have cassavas, we have corn, we have mushrooms, we have eggplant, and we have algae. Theoretically all ready to go. We're not growing eggplants and we're not growing algae yet. But we're well on our way to having a very successful expanded food presence here. So we can continue building this way, and we can start replacing some of these things here. The easiest thing for us to do to get everything hooked up is going to be to just come back behind here, stick a regular platform in there, just pretend like it's not a big deal, and then continue building to the side here. So what we don't have is we don't have storage for kohlrabies, which honestly we probably don't need, but I'm going to do it anyway, because why not, right? Let's make sure briefly. Aha! Well, there's your problem. Among many. I did not set that one to be 0.9. So you might be saying, well, use automation to do it. And guess what? That's what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do, because part of the deal with the live streams that I've been doing, if you didn't have a chance to see those, was I really wanted to figure out automation properly. And I still have a lot of stuff to learn. But we've made some very good progress in that regard. And I feel a lot more comfortable trying to implement that into other playthroughs. I also mentioned previously in this one that the challenge of the map is basically done at this point because we've conquered the water flow and we've managed to keep the beavers alive. Even if there's, not a lot of water stored up right now, they're going to take care of that. But I do, as always, want to finish this playthrough properly, which, in my opinion, always includes firing off the Wonder and getting the beavers as much well-being as possible. And considering we currently have a well-being of 16... I don't think that counts as winning yet. So, once the thirst is taken care of, that'll go up closer to 20. And then when we get the rest of these foods in here, or a decent amount of the rest of the foods in here, we'll be in good shape. But we're going to need some more farmland to grow soybeans and to grow the canola, to do all this other stuff. And then we can put a couple of other well-being things in also. So let's detonate this, dynamite that's been sitting here forever. K for kaboom. And then G6 for kaboom, I guess. Let's get these snares out of here, and now we've got these two spots here we can grow stuff with. Do we really need kohlrabies? Maybe not, but we're going to plant them anyway. So I got a couple ideas to increase our farmland. I haven't tried to put extra land on any of this space. It doesn't look like it's going to let us do a ton. But every little bit counts. I think, at least. And that is worth getting into just as best as we can. Now, we have an opportunity at the very edge of this map. If we replace the blockage with a piece of land, we can bring a pillar up, and then that will get us most of the rest of this space. And then there's a couple other spots where we can do something similar as well. But, you already know our motto for that. We don't have to keep repeating it. We do have a little bit of extra space in here that we could possibly make use of. I think it would be a smart idea to just slowly reclaim some of that. We've already talked about why I can't really lower this without bad things happening, because there's not a lot of support underneath. But that doesn't mean we can't improve this other area over here, either by raising this height, which would give us a completely all the way to the edge bit here, or doing something else. And I also, can just do one of these numbers. That's always allowed. That'll get us a little bit more in the way of oak trees over here. And we can, of course, continue optimizing as we see fit. But beyond that, I've received a lot of requests for doing some automation with regard to turning on the food factories, turning them off, so on and so forth. So this is already set up here. I don't have a building yet that I want to put up here, but remember we talked about needing to have canolas, so I think it makes sense for us to put in at least one oil press, possibly two, depending on how we want to do this. And considering metal parts storage right now is set at 43, I don't know that we're going to need to have very many metal parts. We're going to have to check our recipes here. Oil press is obviously going to require some, but I think a lot of the stuff that actually uses this, we've already built, and may not need to build a ton more. I mean, hydroponic gardens, we probably want to build at least a few more of those. But long term, the metalsmith, one, does not need to be right here. And it also does not require power, so it can be anywhere on the map. But keep in mind, we basically harvested all the scrap metal, with the exception of a little bit over here in this area, which is still, fortunately, easily accessible. And then over here around the mine, which, well, it's not impossible to get to, but it's going to require a little bit of work. We probably want to get an efficient mine going. We do have about half of the materials in terms of gears and logs. Treated planks is going to take a while. So I've kind of been reluctant to get started on this, but at some point we probably do need to. And the treated planks are currently turned on, but they're not able to be made anymore because I don't have any more storage. So in the interest of actually getting something accomplished for these beavers that's going to benefit them in the long run, I am going to unpause the construction of the efficient mine. We're going to let them get to work on that. And in the process, continue working on other stuff. But anyway, all that to say, I'm going to relocate the metalsmith to be closer to this area here. And the way this is set up, they're still going to be able to access just about everything. We're just going to put that in there. And I can go ahead and remove this because it does not matter. And the scrap metal storage, if I remember correctly, is over here. Yes, it is. And the storage for the metal parts is... I actually don't remember. I've lived 100 lives in Timberborn since the last time I played this. Where is the storage? Is there just not a storage for these? No, there is. Okay, well, it's somewhere. Do I know where that is? No, we need to find out. I shouldn't turn this into a bit. Metal parts warehouse is... Oh, who put that there? It was me. But anyway, that's going to be fine there. Now we can finally start getting to, you know, the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here, which is reorganizing all of this, like I said last episode. So let's get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of... let's empty that before we get rid of it. That's empty. Plank storage, wow, I actually don't have another plank storage. Interesting problem to have to solve now. Well, I did say we're going to relocate all of this, so perhaps what I'd like to do instead is, we already have the platform there. Let's take this out. Let's take this out. Let's take this out, because what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to put in probably 2 oil presses way in the back here. Figure out somewhere to put in a medium tank. Probably going to put that right in front of those so those can hold all of the stuff there. We're going to need a storage for canola seeds, which, you know what? I think it makes more sense to put those right there. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to backtrack what I was doing. And we're going to get to work on that. I also just realized I need to deprioritize the construction of the efficient mine because they're never going to do this without me telling them to otherwise. So we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. This is going to get removed. I only have 17 metal blocks though, so for right now I'm going to turn this back on. That's been emptied. That was empty. That's done. That's done. That's done. Do I have other metal block storage? I do, so that can go away, even though this is what's closer. Gonna leave that alone. We should have no problems. Let's just check. Okay, we got tons of land under there. And I do have plenty of dynamite, so we're gonna get that taken care of. Other log storages I do have, even though these two are both logs. And like I said, plank storage is in kind of a not great spot right now, but we are going to get everything taken care of as best as we possibly can. Cassava storage can go away. Food-wise, I'm not going to get rid of this one yet just because this isn't connected to power. It will be. It will be. Don't worry. We know how it goes. Let's get on triple speed here. Try and get some good stuff done. And move right along. Yeah, so that's just going to make the most sense. I'm going to probably stack some of the large industrial storages right here, which means we're going to have access to it. I think that's going to be okay. We'll figure out a way to make it work that isn't complete garbage. Just got to let these guys do what they're going to do. So other things while they're doing this, other things that you guys asked for in the comments that I am happy to oblige. I do want to automate power consumption and industrial production based on demand for both power and materials, which we have done to a certain extent in the live stream playthrough, and I don't think is going to be very difficult to get going in this one, but we do need to make sure things are functioning first. I've been asked to put the excavator up on platforms down on a reservoir area, which is going to allow us to demolish the rest of the land down there that we can. Get a little bit more storage space for all of our water down there. And then one of the other things that was discussed was instead of having this power shaft here, since we need more beaver storage, we take that out and we put in a large row house. Which, you know what? That makes perfect sense. What doesn't make perfect sense is this log going all the way up here. So let's give that the old college try. There you go. And I'm going to have them speed run building this so we can have our power preserved between all of these. Not that it really matters right now. And now over here we have this thing. Not going to be hard to do that. I just want to make sure before I pave over this with platforms that it's not going to be a problem. I'm going to choose to believe that it will not be a problem. And sometimes that is pretty much the only way you can go about taking care of all of this. So let's get this oil press unlocked. Let's put an oil press there. Remember that this is where the canola seeds are stored, so this is very convenient. Just come out, go down, get these, so on and so forth. The rest of this, don't know how quickly they're going to be able to do that, but we are going to certainly do our best. The number cruncher I already talked about automating with the help of power demand, so on and so forth. Just got to let them do what they got to do. I'm going to say for right now, after I check this, yeah, this is already super deprioritized. I don't think I need to have... Well, actually, we're not in a deficit for beavers. But we're chewing through planks. I mean, maybe not literally, but we're going through planks maybe a little bit more quickly than I would prefer. And I don't have any science inventor huts to have slush for all of the beaver employments. So I guess... Now I have 10 in there. Alright, anyway, I'm going to turn the lumber mill on because I don't want to turn the gears off. You know how it goes. And what are they building that is not... here? Okay, well they did do some land. That was good. That was something I specifically wanted to do. You might be wondering, why aren't you planting canola if you're making such a big deal about finally being able to do canola? Well, part of that is because I have to find a good spot that's going to make sense for it. And the other part of it is I haven't done that yet. So we'll plant a few more oak trees here. Just get those growing as fast as we can. And seeing that we have space up here, I don't have a farm that is able to access this, even with the help of stairs. So I think it's going to make sense for us to get rid of this forester here. Now that we have all of these other things Actually, let's hit pause, I know. But I do want to see if I'm going to be able to utilize this space. I see contamination through the gaps in the mesh there. So I don't know if I got rid of these, if I would be able to get that much more space. If you haven't picked up already on what I'm doing, I'm going to replace these oak trees with some canola because, well, it's right next to a farmhouse. And I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Plus, we have a large tank for water. We have a couple, so we don't need this. We don't need this. And then, importantly, we don't need the paths either. And there's not that much space we get by taking the tanks out, but by removing the path, we can get a decent amount. Again, kohlrabis are not exactly super important. But having some canola over here is going to be very important. So keep in mind, during a drought or a temperate cycle, well, actually this is a temperate cycle, but during a drought, assuming we're able to do a little bit better job of keeping the nasty out of here, this won't be contaminated. Even if right now it is. So we're going to let them do what they got to do, get some canola planted, so we can start, even if it's only 3 of them right there. I probably, for the good of the beavers, don't need to plant any more kohlrabi over here. We'll just let them do what they got to do. Expand our diversity of food options, and then go from there. Alright, so good news on the explosive front. They're all ready to go. And since we have a bunch of extra science, I do want to see about using... Actually, that's a lot of science to put on a detonator. Maybe we won't do that quite yet. But this is one of the automation things you can do is you can place a detonator on a piece of dynamite, and of course, the inherent properties of dynamite do allow it to affect everything else around it, which means you only need one detonator. And then, of course, this can be automated either to a lever, a lever, a switch, whatever you want to call it, or if this were a live stream, an HTTP lever, so chat could possibly do it. But we got options. We got a lot of cool stuff we can do with this update, and I'm just so excited to get to all of it, now that I actually understand some of this a little bit better. At any rate, take away the stairs, hit K for kaboom, and there we go. Beautiful. That's going to allow us to come in here with a large industrial pile, and then another large industrial pile. Set this one on the bottom 2 logs, set this one above 2 planks, and then honestly probably do the exact same thing next to it. I realize I could have copy-pasted, I just always forget. Let's put another oil press here. Let's flip this. The reason we're going to flip it is going to become apparent very shortly here. We have this tank here that doesn't, strictly speaking, need to be there. And probably would be better served replaced by a larger one. But if I replace it with a larger one, I'm not going to have the clearance to do what I'd like to do up here. So, what we're going to have to do is get rid of this. Since this empty, it doesn't matter. Evaluate the necessity, there you go, put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, of the stairs here, which, by the way, no one can get to. Get rid of that, and now what that allows me to do, first make sure I'm not going to make a horrible mistake with this. Yeah, get rid of the platform there. This is going to be contaminated during a bad tide. Maybe it won't. No, it definitely will, because the water source is not isolated at this level, even if I put the impermeable floors down. Well, okay. New plan. Triple platform there. Single platform there. This turns into a single platform. And then on top of the single platform, I put in overhangs like this. Not the most efficient recipe, I know, but when I do this, that means we have a thing for the canola oil right in front of it, and we still have space underneath if we want to do something else in the future, should we choose to modify the terrain. And now we get to this section over here, which is going to be interesting. Okay, hold on. I know. We got to pause, though, because I just had an idea that may or may not be a good idea. Alright, I'm going to have to take this out, and I'll show you why in just a moment. I'm going to do a double here. And then on that double, I'm going to put in an overhang. And then I'm going to just stack this again. The reason why is so that I can put a spiral staircase here to get to this next level. And we'll just put in a medium tank, same as we did. And because this connects to this path segment here, that's going to give us access to, well, these things here. I don't know why I couldn't remember what I was about to say. But that is going to be a very, very convenient thing. I know we're using a lot of metal to do this, but I do want to keep this lower area as accessible as I can, if it makes sense. So I don't have anything for these guys to do up here, which means that is going to be a good place to put some sort of a well-being bit. Like maybe a scratcher, but then behind it where it's not accessible, see if I can fit. I don't think the statue is going to fit. The bust isn't going to fit. And guess what? We've got a little heater, a little heater for our canola oil. That's going to give a nice buff to the beavers going through here, which does include the stairs. So a little bit of accidental good design from yours truly. And then a scratcher right there to provide a little bit of enjoyment for those guys. And of course, on top of here, we put a regular platform so that we can return to our regularly scheduled pathing. At which point, since we have all of our food types represented, or we could easily expand it. We got cassava, we got mushrooms. We got mushrooms, we could easily change one of these to soybeans. And then we'll have everything covered, folks. So that means, if I can remember to click correctly, this is where we can put the rest of the stuff that is going to still need to be powered. So in my mind's eye, for the rest of this playthrough, we probably are not going to need a ton more in terms of these industrial buildings. But nevertheless, we do still want to have them, so that is going to be a good place to put lumber mills here and here. We probably want to have more industrial piles. But we've got extra space over here, so before we get going on building this, I did want to scroll down. Okay, there's actually not as much as I thought to dig out, so we're just going to leave that alone. Let's forget that I had that idea. But it's important to have a bunch of logs. It's important to have these planks. Maybe 400-ish planks. 360 is going to be enough, considering what else we're doing. I'm going to turn this into... No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it alone. Let's not overcomplicate things. So, just a little bit of napkin math here. We have 2 industrial lumber mills. That means, well, assuming this is the only stuff that's going to be left, we have every 0.63 hours, 2 planks coming in. Which means that every hour we've got almost 3. Not quite. And, of course, every 3 hours a gear workshop consumes 1 plank. So, if I put 2 gear workshops up here, we're still going to have plenty of planks going everywhere else. And it's not quite as many as we have right now, but I think that's going to be okay, and we haven't gotten rid of these yet. We can always extend. I'm just trying to think of ways to kind of keep the same general setup we've had without it being super complicated. Bring this on this level, and then, of course, go up 1 more level to... come on. To do that, and then I'm going to keep this here just in case that needs to change. We will, of course, want to have another spiral staircase somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where at this point in time, but I believe it is not going to be a mistake to just make one. So I should be able to... Yeah, I should be able to just do this. Maybe there's a better way to lay that out, but I think this is fine. They can just come straight up there. So now they have to build this. We are on day 5, and since we haven't gotten the drought or bad tide warning, we're about to get it right now. And that is a drought coming in. We only have 1,800 water, so 70 beavers. You know what I said I was going to do? Like multiple times that I didn't really do? I was going to put more water pumps in, and I, kind of barely did that. But this is working okay. This is, it's alright. I think we'll be alright. We should be. Maybe. All my water pumps occupied? They are, and I actually have 10, wow. I didn't think I had 10. Okay, well 10 for 70 beavers should be plenty. We're just, catching up from basically 0. I'm going to choose to believe, for better or for worse, that it is going to be fine. Let's pause these buildings so I can get the rest of these beavers back in hauling jobs and other things. And I'm going to let them, hopefully this doesn't go poorly, but I'm going to let them time-lapse this and get some stuff done. And we're going to pick back up at the start of the drought and hopefully have the ability to do a little bit of automation to make this a much more smoothly running enterprise. I'll talk to you in just a little bit. Alright, we got 27 days. We have 2.9k water. Not as much as I'd like. But we can still pump. That is always an option. And since I have not yet automated, I do need to turn these off manually. These will stay on, of course, as they always do. So we've got quite a lot of tasks ahead of us to make sure this is all good to go. I have a few more canola I can plant. And we are getting ever closer to having this all taken care of. We got 9 extra beavers. And I believe this is going to be a good opportunity to make a push to get these things all hooked up. So what I'm going to do is not remove any of the rest of this for the time being, and I'm going to choose to get this hooked up with a set of vertical power shafts, just to make things easier. We're not completely done, but this will get all of this operational. And since we have 9 extra beavers, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Had to let all the sounds stop. But that's going to allow us, capacity-wise, without removing these, to get rid of this area down here, which is now functionally, well, defunct. Now I forgot to raise this up. Guess what? That can be automated. It can all be automated. It's just a matter of how fast I can do it. So, one of the things that is going to make a lot of sense for us to do is automate these resource production areas based on % of overall capacity occupied. So how you do that, as we have learned, or as I have learned, you may already know, is to use, where is that? The resource counter, which is right here, which sends a signal based on a stock level or storage fill rate of a specified good. If we unlock this, then to make this easier, I'm going to put these right in front of the building that they are... Actually, no, I can't, because they have to be attached to a path. Disregard! We're going to have to put these somewhere else. Oh, I promise I thought about this. Let's see, where is going to make sense? I did want to use that. I have created a problem for myself, haven't I? Well, I've got space right here, now that I can relocate this. And I don't need this to be connected. I definitely don't. These pine trees don't need to be a thing. I'm not going to get rid of them because we're kind of low on wood. But let's unplant these for the future. And for right now, because this is what we have access to. And yes, these things do have to be attached to the road. Let's build... I know we don't have enough planks yet. We'll get there. Let's build 3 of these. And actually, this one... it doesn't matter. We can shuffle it around. But I want to make sure I've got... See, I got logs on the ground. They can pick up, and planks and gears. Let's give them a hand and prioritize picking up different supplies that are laying strewn about the area. I don't know that there's anything else, but that should help a little bit. And the 3 things that we can actually make right now, based on ingredients that we have, we'll say fermented cassava, corn rations, and fermented mushrooms, which means each of these can correspond to one of those. I did want to try and keep these roughly aligned, but we're going to work with what we've got. We'll call this one, we'll go %-wise for corn rations. So how this works is when the corn ration measurement of whatever % this is 22% currently, is greater than the threshold, it will send an on signal, which we can then pair to the building that's producing it. So let's say when this reaches, we'll go 50%. And I know that this could lead in some to many cases, could lead to an infinite loop of this just flashing on and off constantly without hooking it up to a timer. But for now, this should be okay. I could actually put timers in front of there because they don't have to have other stuff hooked up to it. Do I have those unlocked? I do. And I'm gonna... Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Because I know if I don't, I'm gonna forget, and then it's gonna turn into this whole thing of, why didn't you do that? Timer. Here, and... Yeah, I want cassava, I want corn, I want mushrooms. That's all three of these. I'm trying not to build everything absolutely at once. So, like I said, this corn, above 50%, this will turn... Actually, I want below 50%. Yes. If you've already left a comment telling me that that was wrong, thank you for looking out. I appreciate it, but I figured it out, so we're good. When the corn ration measurement is under 50%, then it will turn on. That's what we want. And then we want the timer to be on... oh, it's going to actually highlight it. We want resource counter 3. I really should rename those. But that is going to turn this on. Let's say after... 12 hours is probably fine. Because we have the 1200 capacity. After 12 hours, it's going to turn that on. And then it's going to turn it off after T2. I don't know what changing this actually does. Anyway. So then this has to be... Oh, you know what? I deleted that note in my whatever, how that was set up. But this is attached to this. We want this to be set to the timer. And I'm somewhat confident that I managed to get that wrong. Anyway. No, that should be right. That, I believe, is how that is supposed to work. So, we're going to call this corn counter, just to make this a little bit easier. We'll call this one cassava counter. And then we're going to call this one the mushroom counter. And of course, we need to change these to their appropriate resources. Remember, we want the finished food, not the raw ingredient. So we want fermented cassava. I guess I should have called it the fermented cassava counter, but is what it is. Fermented mushroom counter. All right. So now we have these same settings. I should be able to copy them and paste them to both of these, and then just change all of this to the correct thing. We'll find out if this is correct. And then I can copy these settings. No, I don't want to duplicate. No. I want to copy the settings. There we go. Change that to that, change that to that, and then come in through here and just have this set to the correct other building. So once they actually build this, we'll be in good shape. Let's get this on triple speed, get through the rest of the night, and let's hope they get that done sooner rather than later. I should probably prioritize these because they were placed after the rest of this. And we do have somewhat limited resources in that regard. We have the oak trees that are growing up here that could take a little bit of time. Having the corn come up is good. I mean, we're okay on food. We're okay on water. It's not the end of the world. But we're going to want to make sure that this is all good to go. And yes, I know this is not going to actually activate unless I manually unpause the buildings. But they don't have power yet, so it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that this works before we get too far in and we don't have any food and suddenly I've managed to create a big problem. So, this is on because obviously the threshold is below 50%. Once this timer is complete, after it gets the treated plank installed, looks like, or finished tomorrow in game, and I manually unpause the food factory, it should turn on. Obviously, it can't make any, but if it does turn on, well, I guess that's not actually proof that it works because the default state would just be on. I can flip the alligator sign over here to see if that turns it off, and if it does, then we know it works. All right, so that is paused. Because why? Okay, that shouldn't be paused by automation. Did I manage to do it wrong? Oh no, this was... Okay, this is counting down. Okay, so this is actually correct. That is... Hopefully... I'm like 99% sure I got it right. But we will see. Very long 12 hours. Maybe I shouldn't have made the timer 12 hours. I don't know. If you think 12 hours is too long, let me know, and we'll consider adjusting it. But as long as this proof of concept here works, then we'll be in pretty good shape. And... on it goes. Right at the end of the day. Okay. But it is turned on according to the timer. And then once it gets above 50% for more than an hour, the timer will turn off. I believe is what that says. So that'll allow us to kind of control whatever. We don't need 1,200 pieces of, corn rations. We just want it to work. So I am going to manually pause that again because, well, they can't actually do anything. Even though we have all these extra beavers. Looks like we are, yeah, we're still holding on some of these resources. But I can maybe take some of these away to get us some more materials, or I can take some of these away. Getting 2 of the gear workshops up here is probably fine. We do have this one right here. In the interest of completing things, I think it would be smart of us to, to just go ahead and get rid of at least that one, and 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 that one. And then this is going to be moved at some point in time, but for right now, I think we are looking okay. Let's grab these pieces off the ground. This is not mission critical that this is operating at this exact moment. But we do want to have some sort of ability to actually get these things operating again. We'll get it taken care of. Just want to boost these a little bit. Those do take materials that we probably don't really have. We also could and maybe should explore doubling this, having this become like a snake thing. We'll figure it out. We got a little bit of time. I also don't think this series really needs to go super crazy for the rest of it. Because, again, we've already kind of proven that we've beaten the stuff. This is more about exploring mechanics and, finishing what we started, which I do think is very important. Looks like I've got some more land on which to plant canola. So let's take care of that. We'll have to check in periodically. Pumping on here is going quite quickly, actually. Let's, for the time being, hit pause on these. We have 3,100 water. We have 22.5-ish days left. We should be okay. Not perfect, but okay. And that's about all we can do at this point in time, is just let it be what it's going to be. So, since this is no longer going to have bad water going through it, this could become, depending on what we want to do, another reservoir, or it could become additional farming space, which is, I believe, the use I originally floated for that. So for an additional farming space to be viable, it has to be able to retain water, or we have to put a fluid dump in. A fluid dump probably is going to be the easiest solution, just because this is already kind of a small space. And we do have a little bit of outflow coming through here that generates power that I don't necessarily want to get rid of yet. But we may need to evaluate as time goes by. Supply is still vastly outpacing demand for now, but when this gets all hooked up, that's going to change. And that's when we're going to need to have the number cruncher automatically turned off. So here's how you do that. Let's take this on single time speed. Come over here to automation, and then we are going to unlock the power meter. And that's actually kind of an expensive building to build without... Oh, I don't need anything else that does gears. That's fine. This has a power connection that must be connected to a building. And I'm going to hook it right into the number cruncher, because what else are we going to do in this spot? And what this is going to do, when the supply is measuring greater, this is how it's currently set up, when the supply of power measures greater than 1700 and whatever 0, then it will be turned on. I want the surplus to be greater than 0, and then that can get turned on. So this is going to get automated to the number cruncher. So actually, hold on, did I do that wrong? I absolutely did that wrong. Oh, no, it's because the building's not built yet. Because the surplus is absolutely greater than... actually, that should be the surplus is greater than... let's say 499. Yeah, surplus of 1,000. Because I don't want the number cruncher to drag down production. And if it's 1 extra HP, it's really not going to do any damage to us. But we already have plenty of science. We're obviously going to need more, but we can just run it at night. Makes more sense. So it looks like we just need the 1 more log here, and then we need the 1 log here. This absolutely must be finished first, because they can't reach it otherwise. Glad we caught that. Let's get that on triple speed. Somebody asked for the 30 times speed mod to speed through nights. Not on this playthrough. I think it was on the Folktales one. And I don't know that I want to use that because it has a history of causing problems with beavers eating and drinking and then dying because they didn't eat or drink. I'm okay waiting another couple seconds to get through the night. So if you guys are fine with that, then that's what we're going to do. So our current generation, like I said, a little over 1,700. All of this combined is definitely going to push us to... that's the wrong finger on the wrong button. Push us to a spot where that's going to no longer be a big surplus. When the rest of the metal blocks come in here, then I believe I have this set up correctly. That'll be okay. We can reorganize the steam engines. We could maybe even build a sub-level above a farm that has a couple steam engines to make this a viable thing, or we could redesign the water setup. You know how it goes, and I do want to have other things for, let's say, the oil presses and then all of these, but one piece at a time. We are also starting to get very low on food. So let's get this one finished. Now everything has power. These can all run. Let's manually unpause. And that should get everybody in here. And absolutely everybody. We have 1 extra beaver. We do have a kind of limited selection of ingredients, but they are going to make quick work of that, I am sure. And now, folks, we are looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Having some of this automated. Obviously, when we get to the halfway point, then these will turn off. We can adjust to that threshold as we see fit, if we see fit. And then oil presses, like I said, need to be a thing that are going to be automated. Yeah, you know, you can duplicate these, and they'll keep the settings and everything. I believe, at least. So that's fine. Let's do this. Let's get this mushroom counter. You know what? I'm going to use the shortcut, because people say, you never use the shortcut. There. I'm going to put this... Can I, kind of. Oh, I can fit it under here. Okay. So then this instead gets to go to canola oil. And then I need to have a timer for the canola oil stuff. I guess I could just put that up here. And then I can copy my settings from timer number 4. I can copy my settings from timer number 4. There we go. I need to call this canola oil counter. So when the canola oil is below 50% of this tank, this will turn on after 12 hours, and then both of these can be automated to the timer. So that'll take care of the canola oil, and then, you know, the same kind of deal as that with the industrial lumber mill, the gear workshop, so on and so forth. Except I need to find a good place to put the rest of that. I suppose, well, because these have to be attached to a pathway. B for duplicate. And there we go. So this is going to be for planks all the way down here. This is going to be for gears all the way down here. And then we have to have our stuff, I'm just going to put those right next to each other because I think it looks a little bit better. B for duplicate. And then this, oh, I need to make sure this is set to the correct building. We want the canola oil counter for that. And then we want the, haven't named this yet, counter. Nope, that's not the correct button to push. We want plank counter. And then we want gear counter. Now these can be adjusted accordingly. And I believe that should be all good to go. Of course, once they start construction on the timer, then these are going to, you know, not want to play nice. Let's actually change the names of these so that I can find them later. Plank timer, gear timer, canola oil timer. And this, of course, is the mushroom timer. This is the cassava timer. Yes, I know it's fermented, but it's just easier to put this. And this, finally, is our corn timer. And, you know, we haven't gotten into any of this stuff yet because, well, we haven't planted any eggplants and we haven't grown any algae. So for right now, I will leave these buildings paused. But that, folks, is going to get us pretty nicely automated for the most part. We can change the colors on these. There's a paintbrush icon here. And you can type in a hex code if you know it. Or you can pick from one of these predefined colors. But for now, it's looking like this is about as good of a place to stop as any other. Having automated, or mostly automated, most of our production stuff is working out pretty well. I will very quickly take the chance to put a little bit more canola in. Looks like that's about it. But yeah, we can pick this back up again in the next episode. Tomorrow we're going to have more of the 1.0 full Folk Tales playthrough. And then we're going to also continue with the live streams and the Iron Teeth as well. Lots of cool stuff to be excited about with 1.0. And I'm glad that I took a little bit of time to learn some of this automation on stream with you guys. Because it's going to make things just so much better for the entire rest of the time people are playing Timberborn. I'm really, really, really enjoying all the new fun automation stuff. So, of course, I do need to mention the beard boosters who subsidize the channel so I don't have to have sponsors and just make it possible for us to do what we want to do. Not have to edit videos down, not have to game the algorithm or whatever. Just have fun playing the Beaver game and enjoying a very, very nice community. So thank you very much for your support. And thank you for being here, even if you're not on that list. I'm very glad you chose to spend a little bit of time with me today. I hope whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, you stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.